Hello, welcome to the Homeless Youth Project. I'm Ron Austin, and my guest here is Kathleen Dreyer. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. If you watched our last show, I told you what the Homeless Youth Project was. The Homeless Youth Project is a project of Pan Left Productions in partnership with Carlos G Figueroa Foundation. Pan Left Productions being a video cooperative, and the Carlos G Figueroa Foundation being a group of people who practice video photo advocacy for the homeless and those in poverty here in Tucson. Well, today, what is up? We've got Kathleen Dreyer here, and she is a volunteer photographer for the Carlos G Figueroa Foundation. And what we are going to do, we are going to discuss our feelings and our how we feel about having come in contact with homeless youth, because she and I have done video and photos, interviews with many homeless youth in Tucson, and I want you to get a feel for the reality of the condition through our thoughts and our feelings and our the stuff that we think about when we do this sort of thing. And if you want to, you can go to the FigueroaFoundation.com, which is on your screen right now, and which is our website, and therefore you can see some of the videos and the photos of the youths that we have interviewed. So, Kathleen, it kind of struck me after the first couple of times when I realized that a number of the youths that we interviewed blamed themselves for being homeless, for drinking too much or drugging too much or not listening to their parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that comes with, it's an incomplete reality, right? Uh-huh. I think it for all of us, as we grow up, we realize what our mistakes were. And so many of the youth were realizing the mistakes that they made. One that we just most recently interviewed, she had said that people were trying to tell her what to do, but she just was too strong-headed to listen. But the other side of it is just as many youths, if you really dug a little bit deeper, you learn that their family was just rift with all sorts of other problems, domestic violence. Their parents were using drugs or abusing alcohol, or they were being physically or sexually abused themselves. And so it's a very complicated matter. It's not just blaming them. But similar to any young person, we often blame ourselves for our problems.
Right. And that's quite correct. And as you say, there were many complicated problems going on with many youths that we had talked to. And, and another thing that, there's a number of agencies in town that provide services to homeless youth, but the problem is that Main Street doesn't help. We actually went. You and I actually went to a tunnel one time, mm-hmm. right, where we witnessed where the tunnel had been washed out because the youth had been staying there. That their all mm-hmm. their belongings and such were washed up, didn't we? Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a very hot day. I remember that it was over 100 degrees, and one of the youths was taking us down to show where where the tunnel was, where they were staying, and it was just filled with water. And because of the heat of the day and how quickly water evaporates, it was his assessment that probably what had happened just happened within a matter of minutes, or to an hour or so from, within a very short period of time from when we were there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember running into one youth. Yes, I remember running into, it was a couple youths that told me that they had stashed their belongings in a certain place, and that the police had pepper sprayed all their belongings so they couldn't use it again. I mean, that is such a tragic situation to be occurring, because what they lose, not only do they lose medications, IDs, photos, and maybe all their connections to their families and people that they know and stuff.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. That really struck me, that the police would do something of that sort. You would think that they would be more understanding of youths that are not able to avail themselves of what other youths have that are housed and have active parents.
Well, I think there's a very common misunderstanding that most of the folks that are homeless are doing it by choice. And I mean, just look at the whole political climate right now about entitlements and things like that. And I think both of our experience has been, as almost without exception, there may have been one or two people that indicated that, that it was a conscious choice that they were making, but by and large, all of them were very hopeful to be able to get into a program or into an apartment, and to be in a place where they were warm and where they could clean themselves. The most stunning thing to me over and over again was just everyone saying how one of their biggest chores every day, next to just finding something to eat, was just how to maintain hygiene. Like, even though they were living on the streets, the dignity of being clean was a very important thing. And I know it's important for me to be clean every day, and just for these young adults to really want to have that part of their dignity intact every day. Right.
I remember in one particular incident that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a youth that we did an interview with a group of youths in a tunnel, and he said something about jumping in a swimming pool or something of that sort. Yeah.
I remember I lived in a co-housing community for several years with my son, and I remember a certain degree of outrage by the community because there was a person found in the pool, and the assumption was the person was either under the influence of something or a little bit off or a little bit crazy, and they were messing up our space. And I remember having admittedly some of those sorts of feelings, like feeling violated, but then at the same time getting to know now the people that are actually looking for those opportunities. It's not like they are looking to party. They're looking for a place to be clean.
Right.
And they're doing the best that they can with what they have. And there are different organizations in town that will allow them to go in like once a week to clean and things like that. And if you're a lady, and sometimes it's very important to, once a week is not enough,
Right.
That sort of thing.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So
there's a part to that component you just mentioned, because I remember being told that that original tunnel that we went into, where we shot an interview. Fact is, if you want to, you can go to FigueroaFoundation.com and see Homeless Youth Project Tunnel Youth, I believe we named it, and you can see what we're talking about. There was these 5 youth, 4 or 5, was it?
Yeah,
right.
There was 4 of them.
4 or 5 youths living in the tunnel under the cities where we walk.
It's a very powerful video. You placed the still images that we took, along with, I think it was, you had like a dialogue or some statistics that you were given,
correct.
And I think even some music too. It was a very, very moving video that I really recommend that people see. And And then I think what I'll also mention is I have a website where I've kept a running log of all the photos that people
Correct.
can go and see too. And at some point I can, give that address if you'd like. So
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you give them that address?
okay, so my website is called essencephotography.com, and essence is spelled with 5 letters: E as in elegant, S as in smell, E as in elegant, N as in natural, S as in smell. So essencephotography.com. And then if you go to the community events gallery, and then you scroll down, because I have many different albums in there, but if you scroll through the gallery, you'll see one that's entitled, I believe it's simply entitled Homeless Youth Project, or Homeless Youth, and it there is a running album of images that we have taken during our many shoots, and as we interview folks, I continue to add to that album.
Good.
Looks like we have a call.
Yes, we do. Hello, welcome to the Homeless Youth Project.
Yes, I just have a quick question for you. I was wondering, what do you think is the leading cause for homeless youth?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, we might get 2 opinions here. But I believe, personally, myself, I believe, having come in contact with many homeless youth, of which Kathleen came in contact with the same ones, I believe that the fault lies in the adult. I firmly believe that it's 100% it's because of an adult. Okay.
Parents, not caring for their kids and just tossing them out.
Well, right. I mean, we've had kids talk about, or youth rather, talking about, they didn't, they drank too much, or they drugged too much, or they didn't listen. That's why they're homeless.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that's an adult issue. That's a parent's issue.
That's the the breakup of the family, which today, 2 parents usually have to work, or most, families are one, family, one parent family, that's
right.
Because of the breakdown of the family from society, I believe, don't you think?
Yes, without a doubt, that's part and parcel to the whole picture, I think. What do you think, Kathleen?
I think that's true, and then also what I said before is many of the youth, once we dug a little bit deeper, there was always family issues going on, something to the effect of domestic violence, or between the parents, or substance abuse by the parents, or the parents physically or sexually abusing them. There were other reasons that stemmed from that, or parents that are so caught up in their own dynamics and their own drama, or that.
Fast pace of the world today.
Pardon me?
The world is too fast paced.
Right.
Where people don't sit down at the table anymore and have a dinner. I'm 62, so I grew up when we sat all down and had dinner together. I think a lot of problems in society today is caused from the breakup of the family. You know what I mean? Not only homelessness, I think a lot of crime, gangs is one thing where youths turn to gangs to be their family since they don't have a family. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we have to understand, though, that a healthy family can be a very broad there's many different definitions of healthy family, right? So it can be just a single parent household. It's a matter of the quality of love and attention and presence that we have with our kids.
Yes.
And a lot of the young folks that we have met don't have that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've mentioned this in other interviews, when we were in the tunnel with this one group of people, I think there was 4 youth there, and they were all kind of very different, and they presented themselves very differently. And if you actually look at the photos, you can see the qualities in the different youth. And one fellow was really out there, and I suspect that he was probably under the influence of something. And the rest, I don't think they were. But the young lady, we had asked some question about what would you want the public to know. And I forgot who said it, but it was a response that has stuck with me. And this interview was maybe close to 2 years ago.
Right. Actually, it was two responses.
Okay,
From two different people.
Okay,
right.
The response that I heard that really stuck with me is, don't judge me by who I hang around.
Correct.
Because we kind of help each other out because we have nobody else.
Yeah,
so
I can understand that.
And it was interesting. That person wasn't slighting or wasn't talking, cutting down that person who was really talking like way out in the stratosphere during the interview. But it was like respectfully saying, hey, I want you to take me at my own merit. Yeah. And even though this dude here is acting a little off, I have kind of a sense of obligation to help him.
Yeah, and they don't want to be all grouped all together.
Yeah, it was right,
because there's all different circumstances, like you say, and all different, reasons and everything is right that, could cause that. But
right.
I've always said it, and I still believe it. I raised 2 children myself. My daughter's 28, my son is 26. I spent all my time with my kids, and my wife recently passed away 6 years ago. And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's still pretty tough, but the Lord's helping me through. But I think I really think breakdown of family and the breakdown of religion. No matter what you believe, what kind of religion, I think that's got a lot to do with a lot of problems in society today. And I appreciate talking to you. I'll watch you again, and I'll check out your website, and I'll pray for the youth. That's all I can say is I'll pray for them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think one thing people need to know that, okay, we mentioned about these 4 youths being in the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that many youths will band together in ad hoc families, so to say, in order to for protection and also to help them survive. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Very much so. And I'm actually one other thing that I was surprised about is resourceful. Like right now, if I suddenly became homeless, I wouldn't know a whole lot what to do. I mean, I've learned a few things now being involved in this project with you, but there is a resourcefulness in these young adults about they know where to get certain things. They know who's trustworthy. There are certain people and organizations that will actually go out because out onto the street, knowing where the youth will reside or hang out. And I think Ron and I right now, we have a certain sense of obligation to respect their privacy, knowing, where they are and things like that to help fulfill them being safe out in the community. But we have folks that help bring just things like toiletries out and change of clothes or just, some snack foods. And a lot of these youth know where they can go on a Sunday to go get a free hot meal and a free shower. And there are resources out there. I just recently got a phone message from one of the youth that we contacted. We haven't even touched on the fact of youth that are not only homeless but have an alternative lifestyle, which even is more complicated. And she very excitedly told me that she just recently got an apartment and she would like me to come and photograph her and her dog, which I thought was just very sweet that she felt the connection and she felt safe enough to call me. So I'm definitely going to follow through on that and photograph her with her dog so she can post it and share it with her friends and things like that. So
yeah, Kathleen just mentioned about homeless youth with alternative lifestyles, and there are many LGBTQ homeless youth out there on the streets, and quite possibly they have it harder, much harder than in certain ways than regular kids that are out there homeless because of their gender preferences. But we touched on the we talked about the youth in the tunnel, and what I was going to say before our telephone call was that they had gotten kicked out of the tunnels, and several of the youths told me that what had happened was that the police came and kicked them out, and then what occurred was that the tunnels being as they are, being somewhat, the access to the tunnels being somewhat below a ground level, above the ground level was these manufactured homes looking over the tunnels, and someone there reported the use. And as I mentioned before about the police not helping situations by pepper spraying homeless youth belongings, or even flushing their belongings out by using the fire department's hoses, the public don't help, okay? Because the homeless youth that we have come in contact with are demeaned by the public. And I believe why that occurs is because the mainstream media has never really portrayed homelessness as it is. Okay, every time you see, most every time you see a homeless person in the media, they're getting arrested, or maybe they fell off a train, or they're looking very disheveled, okay, or they're drunk, or something of that sort, and you never, hardly ever see homeless people that are, or youths that are trying to reemerge back into the mainstream, and they're well dressed, articulate, and striving to go back to the mainstream life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a hard road for them, and you're right. The images that the media portrays regularly doesn't help that. It actually compounds the problem, and I think what we're attempting to do with our project is to show the humanity of the youth, and to illustrate how difficult their challenges are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd like to say again that we have Kathleen Dreyer here, volunteer photographer for the Carlos G Figueroa Foundation, and she and I have shot video and photos, she being a photographer, of many homeless youth together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And also there is a call-in component at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the telephone number or two numbers that you can access our show, and you can ask questions at will. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so sometimes I just really don't understand why the media portrays homelessness as, the media themselves, they have such a powerful influence on the masses, okay? And I tend to think, it's a personal opinion now, that the media has lost their way, that they have not contributed to the welfare of homelessness hardly at all, because the images that they have portrayed on TV and movies and such of that sort. But we are, as Kathleen has just mentioned, we are, through our videos, our photos, are trying to create an advocacy to help educate the man and woman in the street about the reality of those conditions. And what will occur, hopefully, pretty soon, is that we will be putting together a documentary tentatively named Homeless Youth Project, Tucson, Arizona. And this will be made up of compiled pieces of videos and photos that we have of all the youth that we have shot. But
I think what I would like to add there is, if any of you in the listening audience happen to know a homeless youth, or actually run into someone and are brave enough to just approach them and talk to them on the street, I'd encourage you, and I assume, Ron, you'd agree with this, to encourage them to get in touch with us through this website. We are looking for more and more youth to interview and to hear their stories. That would be a wonderful thing. Okay. So.
Okay. All right. So we that's correct. If you go to our website, which you'll see at the bottom of our screen, FigueroaFoundation.com, you'll find my contact information. You can call me on the phone, or you can email me. Thank you for watching our show.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be
Take
on
care.
again next month.